Welcome to the last Scare-a-Thon 2025 live stream here on Kicking the Seat. It's a bittersweet evening. It's sweet because we're back supporting our really great cause, the International Rescue Committee. Bitter because we're here to talk about Shelby Oaks. I am not happy about the discussion we're about to have. I don't relish doing a takedown of a film that was created by one of the OG YouTube movie critics, Chris Stuckmann. But here we are. He stepped into the arena. He crowdfunded a film that got picked up by Neon and executive produced by Mike Flanagan. It's out in theaters. It bombed spectacularly this weekend. And tonight, with my esteemed panel of film critics, we're going to talk about why that might be. Before that, I do want to mention that it is Scare-a-Thon, so all proceeds tonight will be donated in terms of super chats. Will be donated to the IRC. Link down below, along with some helpful banners reminding people to please donate and chime in with your thoughts on Shelby Oaks as the evening progresses. Did you see it? Did you love it? Did you stay away? If so, why? Thoughts on Chris Stuckmann. I know we all have some. We're going to get some varied perspectives tonight, but spoiler warning, we kind of talked before we went live here. None of us are fans of this movie, but I don't think any of us relish being in this position. It's not quite the participation medal philosophy, but it is, kind of disheartening when someone strikes it, big or really goes out there on the ledge. And then the results are kind of like, because contrary to popular belief, film critics, or at least the ones I know, don't go into films wanting to not have a good time. They go in wanting, or we go in wanting to love everything that we see, and that just isn't the case. But before we get into that, I do want to set the table with a quote I read this morning, purely by coincidence. I've begun reading a new book called Daring Greatly by Brené Brown. And in this, she recounts Theodore Roosevelt's speech, the Daring Greatly speech from 1910. And here it goes. See if you can follow the theme tonight. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly. That was President Roosevelt back over 100 years ago. And now, flash forward to a film called Shelby Oaks, a hybrid found footage horror movie that feels like it's at least a decade too late, and at least 2 passes short of a final polish. I am joined tonight by Katie Glidewell, the blonde in front, and Mark, the movie man Krawcheck of Special Mark Productions and the Spoiler Room Podcast. Gang, thank you for joining me on this rickety, bumpy, just ran out of gas trip to Shelby Oaks. Katie, you had an epiphany about this film today, and you've got kind of a history with this movie as you saw it a few weeks ago at a film festival. So set us up here tonight.
So Shelby Oaks is a story about a woman whose sister, who was part of a YouTube channel, going to spooky places and finding things. Her sister disappeared 12 years ago. She was part of a foursome that would go into different places. The 3 others were found not well and not intact, and very much unalive. And yet they have never been able to find this woman's sister. Because of the notoriety, because of the popularity of the YouTube show, it has become like an urban legend. What happened to her, and she is actually filming in the middle of filming a documentary when a gentleman comes to her door and proceeds to unalive himself. And that's when some very different things start to happen. I will say this though, I want, considering the budget, I would say this is not a failure. I mean, it made double what it cost in its opening weekend, which, yes, that was only 2 million or 2.8 million, but considering it only cost like 1.2, that is a success. But here is my epiphany regarding the film. We'll talk about the different things that go on, but my epiphany is this. There is a pivotal moment when the sister, whose name is Mia, finds a photo book. And in the photo book, she finds pictures of her sister, who is very much alive, who is very much in a family way many, many times. And my epiphany was this, and this is the reason why I was like, that's it. That was the thing that I couldn't get out of my head. So this is supposed to be like, 12 years ago, whatever. Where in the hell is that Walgreens where you got 1 hour photo that's developing these pictures? And I guarantee there is not a black room in the house where she found this, where the Ansel Adams of Deliverance is like developing the pictures and putting them in the scrapbook. That was my epiphany today at work. It was like, I knew something was wrong. And that is it. Because that, to me, there's issues with the film. It's one of the things that's gone on, I think, in the past 5 years, which is like, it's too dark. It's like, I understand, scary stuff happens in the dark. That's great. I understand that. I really understand that. But it's also, when you can't see it, it becomes less scary. There's also a number of things in the movie where it's like someone gets a premonition or a feeling, and then they look out and the camera turns to where this thing is going to be. And I'm like, okay, you got to give me a heads up or something. You got to give me, like, is there a ding or something? I don't see what you're seeing.
A demon alert.
Yeah. Is there a boat in this that it's like, or, go back to mall rats? Like, I don't understand why I'm supposed to be afraid in this scene. And there were, I think, 6 of those scenes in this film.
I am so glad you brought that up, because I had the same issue with a film that Mark and I talked about recently, Good Boy. That was the film that was sort of told from the dog's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And there were several shots in that, and I was having Good Boy flashbacks all throughout Shelby Oaks, where the camera would turn and there'd be like a music cue, like, oh, there's something spooky, like you're going to see a face in the woods or a shadow or a movement or something, and it just, nothing happens. And then there's also other, photographs like you mentioned, or zoom ins on frozen video where you're kind of looking over a character's shoulder out a window into, like, through a pane of glass, and like, there it is. Do you see it? I'm like, no, I don't even see it. And I'm sitting out here. If the person in the movie can see something, if they could at least helpfully say what it is, that might be helpful. Not scary, but helpful. Yeah. It's very disappointing.
This was something that's like, okay, I'm getting a very feel of like Lake Mungo, where they would show photos and it's like, oh, what's this? And then later on, it's like, it turns out to be this. I get that. That's fine. I actually love Lake Mungo. But with this, there wasn't the revelation or the answer. It's like, and it's a photo. Why am I supposed to be upset about? I don't understand. But but the big epiphany, guys, and you guys know what I'm talking about, and we'll get to that part in the film. It's like, there is not a 1 hour photo or a Walgreens at that time that would have been like, hey, isn't this the chick that's been disappeared? Or like, isn't she on the news? Like, wait a minute, why does she look familiar? And if you're trying to say like, oh, they don't look at those pictures, they do. I've had many people talk to me about some of my pictures that I've developed. It's awkward. It happens shortly, but they give me a look and I know they've seen them.
Well, we'll have to tell those stories on the Patreon.
That'll be different.
That's a paywall.
That's a different. I accidentally had one of those once that the camera went off when it shouldn't have. And yeah, anyway, the 1 hour photo person said, yeah, there was one photo we couldn't develop and it's on the negative. And yeah, and then we took it home, and I looked and like, oh,
Was the person at the 1 hour photo Robin Williams by chance?
no,
Exactly.
because he didn't come to visit us later and force us to do things. So,
Well, that's good. I'm glad you're safe.
Not yet.
But the other thing, Katie, that you mentioned is regardless of if it's a missing person, those photos are disturbing. They show a woman who's clearly in distress, clearly involved in some kind of occult-like activity. By the way, we have this unofficial spoiler banner up.
Yeah.
it's
but she's got blood all over her dress, blood in very specific parts of her dress. Somebody's calling the cops. Unless the townsfolk are in on it, we've seen that kind of thing in other movies. But can I just ask this question? And then, Mark, I want to get to I want to plant this seed as something to be asked answered throughout the podcast. Isn't it too early in Ari Aster's career for someone to be ripping him off this blatantly? This movie is just Hereditary and Midsommar, like filtered through the Blair Witch Project inartfully. It's distressing. Mark, what did you think of Shelby Oaks?
Oh,
he's already cracking one out. I do want to say this though. I did like the performances, big or small. They had some, nice names in there. And the direction was not bad, other than the parts that I very much noted that I was like, I don't get it. But that's just me. Sorry, Mark.
Well, a couple of pins there.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about direction because I made the mistake of listening to one of my favorite podcasts, Eric Weber's Midnight Movie Talk, and he did kind of a reaction to seeing Shelby Oaks, and he put something in my head that I couldn't get out while I was watching the film. It is a claim, a theory that he's working on regarding how much Chris Stuckmann actually directed the film that we saw, versus the person whose name is more on this film than Chris Stuckmann, executive producer Mike Flanagan. We might have a poltergeist situation here, but we'll talk about that later. Mark.
Well, first I want to preface by saying that, I've been around a little bit longer than Stuckmann, but he took off. I did not. And that's fine.
You're here, Mark.
I am here. And I know you fine folks, but I'm just saying that he ended up acquiring millions upon millions of subscribers because he found the right formula with his reviews, and mad props and respect to that. There's a number of YouTubers. I mean, I was only around 4 years when he came out, I think in like 16 years ago, and I've been on it almost 20. But in any case, just to give you a little history. So I am familiar with Stuckmann. I have seen Stuckmann rise in popularity and see where he's going. And I do want to preface this as I am a supporter of indie films, and I do have respect for anyone who can get a film made. So I want to just preface this by saying I have massive respect for Chris because he not only got a film made, but got a name behind it and got his film out in major theaters, which even with you have to have some help with that nowadays, but mad props for him to just having those pieces fall into place. I give mad respect for that. So,
and I'd like to say, Mark, sorry to interrupt, but you're speaking for all three of us on the panel here. There's no one who's begrudging him the success that he's had. We're talking specifically about
the film,
the end product. Yeah,
right. We're talking about the end product, and that's why I wanted to preface it because I've seen some people jump on it. I have nothing against Chris Stuckmann. I think it's awesome. He created something and was able to get it out.
Mm-hmm.
That said, first off, found footage and is a little bit of a hard sell for me. But I actually enjoyed this film more when it was a faux true crime story than when we switched to an actual regular narrative.
Yeah,
I actually this film starts off strong. I was actually into it. I'm like, okay, this is what we're doing. It wasn't what I was expecting, but this is what we're doing. All the way up to the guy shooting himself in the head, because I've covered indie films for, that's been my main focus for 14 years now. And so I've seen films like this and I'm like, okay, these can be interesting. This is the type of found footage I like because you've got a reason for your filming. You can pull in, folks for setting up a story with a clip and all of that. But when it flipped to the regular narrative, the holes got bigger in plot and me buying into this story got a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
Like the scene after we described where a guy offs himself in front of the main character, she hides a mini DV tape, which I loved seeing the mini DV tape because that's what I literally was recording my early movie reviews on, was a DV tape. So I'm like, okay, cool. But we're watching that footage, and it's the found footage, and they just kept doing this cut of her reaction, which, by the way, she never wiped the blood off her face, which I'm sorry, someone would have wiped.
Well, on top of that, when she shows the tape to her husband, and then he watches it, and then they have this like kind of tender moment in the hallway where he hugs her. I'm like, it really is time to go take a shower, or at least get a washcloth, because that was gnarly.
And that's the thing. I get they were trying to get that she was kind of in shock and very excited that she may have a first piece of evidence in 13 years for looking for her sister. At the same time, at least a casual wipe. It literally was there specifically for a reaction, for a shock reminder or whatnot. And I like the found footage stuff, which I discovered actually came from 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The paranormal paranoids. I wasn't aware of it at all, but Chris Stuckmann started his viral campaign for this 4 years ago by creating an altered reality game, which I don't see him too much that often, to where basically you play video clips and then people weigh in on what they think is going to happen, and depending on the popularity of a theory, changes the direction of the next bit of the story, and it goes along in chapters, and it's basically audience driven. So I wasn't aware of that, but so I was surprised to see that was 4 years ago when he first came up with that. But I was interested in that story. Like I said, the true crime part of this, the mystery, that angle, I liked that a lot more than your regular narrative. When we got into the regular narrative, it just was like, I was sighing because those parts, while they were performed well, just weren't clicking for me. It seemed to lose steam as it goes along.
Well, it also, it's a shock. And again, this comes back to, I think it was the seed that Eric Weber had planted in my brain, because he had said very specifically, the movie starts out looking one way, and then when you get to the opening title sequence, like when that happens, it flips from being an independent film to looking like a Mike Flanagan movie. And it never really comes back, except for these jarring moments where you do get the found footage, paranormal and paranoid stuff that Stuckmann had filmed. So, I mean, the lore goes, Stuckmann, started a Kickstarter, Indiegogo or something, raised $1 million. I do want to kind of step back, and I'm all over the place, but Katie, I just want to make a brief correction. The movie made 2-point-something million at the box office. That's not doubling its budget. The Kickstarter, from what I understand, raised $1 million something. Neon, when they acquired it, poured another $1 million plus in it to get Mike Flanagan aboard and to do some reshoots, quote unquote. So this thing is already over $2 million. Plus there's the regular movie math, which states that a film has to come in at about 2.5 or more of its budget in order to even begin profitability, because of marketing, because of the fact that studios take anywhere between like 30 and 50% of the box office take. So this thing is in trouble unless it's got a very robust home video roadmap. But the thing about this, it's switching from the found footage thing to a narrative. In the found footage portion of it, it's Mia, who is our protagonist, right? Played by Camille Sullivan, who I think does a very admirable job in here.
Yeah.
But she talks about how she and her husband were having some difficulties surrounding the disappearance of her sister and Mia's reaction to it. And at one point they show the picture of them as a couple, like on the mantle. And she's like, and he couldn't quite handle it, leading to us to think that he split. But then we go into the scene where, the true opening scene, if you want to call it that, where Mia has just encountered this guy on the porch. What happens. The husband is like right there consoling her and living in the house. And like that whole, whatever that sentence was, that allusion to their relationship falling apart, all of a sudden doesn't make any damn sense. They are having trouble, but they're not, really estranged. And this is total fate. Katie, remember what we talked about a couple of months ago, the 30th anniversary of Empire Records, who played the husband, Brendan Sexton III. Yes, Warren Beatty himself.
Look at him all grown up, and he's all grown up. And then I saw him in 2 movies when I was at Telluride Horror Show, because he was also in Bloodshine with someone who was also in Shelby Oaks, Emily Bennett.
Wow.
Synergy.
Synergy.
Yeah. I'm getting the distinct feeling that these people all just hang out together. It's kind of like, no disrespect to the actors, but when you see movies that are very clearly shot at horror conventions, like, hey, there's actors here, I'm going to give them $50 to be in my movie. And then you get a whole assortment of people and they're kind of crossing over. It's all fun. I like seeing Michael Beach. I like seeing Keith David, but they really much are, hey, come sit behind this desk, say a couple of, ominous things into the camera and look, sad. Did very well, but it's, when you see their name in the opening credits, you expect something and then you don't quite get it.
I liked the story. I liked the idea that they were going for. It's how they went about executing it. I think that I had a lot of, that kept taking me out of the story and the film and starting to know. That's the thing, is once you start dropping out of and start losing interest in the film in general, you start getting to notice the other things. If you're like into the movie, like when we saw, and I know people have opinions on it or whatnot, but we went to a mystery movie. My son and I, Monday night, we went to a mystery movie. It was Christie, the biopic, Christie. I thought it was great. He actually enjoyed it too. But it's been a long time since I got a bucket of popcorn. And I could always tell how good a movie was if by the end of the movie I look and go, holy crap, I just ate this huge tub of popcorn and I don't even remember eating it. Versus, I look down and only half the tub is empty. I'm like, oh, okay. And this was kind of a 2/3 still full tub popcorn. I get what they were going for, but the dialogue could have used more work. I mean, Keith David does well with what he is given, but what his dialogue is given and some of the other things are so telegraphed as this film goes on that when we get to the meaty stuff, which it started to get interesting when we get to the old lady in the house and the mold and everything. But by the time you get there, you kind of know how this is going to play out. There isn't really a surprise at all. And what's more interesting is they briefly drop this thing with the couple about a baby. It's literally like one line or two. Like, we tried to have a baby a couple times. It's like not even 30 seconds and they show a picture of a crib or whatnot. And then it's not addressed or come up or remind you at all. And then at the very end, which I'm sure we'll get to, it calls back around and her motivation for doing what she did hinges on the fact that they were trying to have a baby. And I'm like sitting here going, wow, that was a journey.
Dude, I had totally forgotten that until you brought it up.
Oh,
even coming into the show with an idea of one of the striking images from this film, and there aren't a whole lot of them. I mean, it's a pretty pedestrian movie, but in that setup sequence we've been talking about, the kind of the found footage thing, going over a lot of news clips and stuff, there's a shot in Mia and her husband's house of the baby crib, and it's full of boxes and bric-a-brac from when they discovered, well, we're not going to use this room for its intended purpose. It's really kind of haunting and also well composed. Sorry, Katie, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just agreeing with Mark. No, I remember her kind of talking about that and sort of like pushing it aside because it's like with everything going on with her sister, it's like they tried, it didn't really work out. So, they've kind of pushed past that and all that stuff. But but they kept the crib, they kept this. And I was like, I mean, it would be one thing if it was 5 years that the sister was gone, but when it's over a decade, it seems like it's like, okay, so I feel like it's time you should have gotten rid of that stuff in that room.
Well, and I get, and if they are still trying, or if she is still hanging on to, possibly having a child, I don't need my hand held, and I get being subtle. I fully respect being subtle, but there's being subtle to the point to where the points faded so much and you've had so much happen that you get to the end, you see what she does and you're like, why the hell did she do that? And then you're like, oh, but it's so
Right.
It's not brought up again. You don't see her flashback. You don't see her think about it or even mention
but
it.
To that point, Mark, they don't. They keep mentioning this 12-year period,
right?
But they don't. 13. I forget.
Yeah, it's 12. I think it's 12. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the characters don't act don't act according to the rules of the passage of time.
Mm-hmm.
If they were having these struggles 12 years ago or whenever the sister had disappeared, they're clearly having issues now. So is a baby still important to them? Is it something that never got past? Why are they still living together if, she's like, it didn't work out? I still don't know what that line meant. On top of that, the whole conceit of Mia is being filmed. I mean, that's another thing that kind of pops up at the beginning. And then at the very end of the movie, right before the 6th climax, you're like, oh, that's right. There's a camera crew following her. It's just so jarring. It's like, okay, were they there for the entire time? They're making a found footage kind of documentary, but it is also in the third person omniscient for most of the movie. When Mia is going to the prison, she goes to visit a haunted prison near Shelby Oaks. The camera crew doesn't come with her. That's still omniscient point of view. So why doesn't she tell the camera crew? Does the camera crew notice that she's going off places? Does anybody say, hey, where are you going? No, it's none of your business. What do you mean it's not our business? We're filming you for a documentary. Do they just, are these appointments? Are they embedded with her? For a movie that is 10 years too late to the genre picnic, it seems to have forgotten the fundamentals of how to successfully set one of these things up and welcome an audience into the world without having them constantly, or say us, be thinking, why, how? The exception is one of the 8 people in my screening who slept through most of the movie, awakened only by the jump scares. And I could hear him. He was way down front, but he was snoring loudly enough that it sounded like he was right next to me in my ear.
Wow. I've only ever had one movie that made me nod off for about 4 or 5 minutes, and that was The Nun. Other than that, I've never had that happen. But I legitimately, The Nun is that boring for me and then you get to the very end, and I was like, that's what I waited for.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. The guy who fell asleep was the luckier of the two of us.
Well, no, and I got the jump scares. I was glad there wasn't as much, but knowing that Chris first put this together, and I think he even started shooting some of it before he, Flanagan and Neon got involved. It almost feels, I almost would like to have seen Chris's original idea, like what he would have came up with had he just had the money that he raised and put together, and see that film, because I think that was more of the mockumentary angle. I think when it flips to the how'd you put it? You used the right term. I just put it the regular film narrative, the third person.
Oh,
regular,
the omniscient, third
omniscient
person,
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, the actual film narrative story type angle, that feels almost like that was part of the reshoots in that they had, and I would have loved to see just maybe what Chris would have came up with without the extra million and Neon and Michael Flanagan involved in it, because I think you see that in here. I see the story that he wants to, but like there's the other thing. My son went with us. There's the other thing. She goes to the haunted prison. She finds the cell. They do this whole story.
They actually call it the haunted prison. Well, I guess they do. Yeah, because a lot of 14 people died and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's okay. Dark County Correctional.
Dark County Correctional.
Which is actually the prison that was filmed for Shawshank Redemption.
Right.
Yes.
So they should have, I'm sorry, they should have just made it a fictional county, because Dark County, even if it's a real place, it's a terrible name for a horror movie, because you're like, come on, Dark County.
But she goes there and she has this vision. Then suddenly she sees a hellhound, and then she actually sees a demon when the jump scares, and then she runs away. And then her first motivation was to go from there to the amusement park. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I if she didn't encounter Demon and the dog, and she went from the prison, she looks through the mirror, through the hole in the window where the crazy guy had been at, and looks through the mirror and goes, oh, that's the amusement park my mom and then she goes without encountering Hell Dog and Demon. That would make more sense. But encountering that, and then she's like, oh, I'm gonna go out to it's like I needed something in between her, because it didn't feel. And that's the thing, is some of her actions did not feel like they would be the actions of that person.
Well, to me, it was the fact that it seemed like it was like midnight. That's when she breaks in to the haunted prison, which, no offense, that location, it can be noon, high noon, sun blazing. That place still looks creepy as hell. Okay. You don't need to have it be midnight and like all the shadows, but also it's a ex-prison. It's going to be a little bit harder than just like clip, clip, clip. Oh, no one's going to see this. Like, I feel like, really, you don't think anyone is watching this place? Like, it's just like fallen off the map. I know stuff happened before, so it's been abandoned, but I don't know. I felt like that just seemed like really not, I don't want to say cheap, but it just seemed I don't know, just not very, it seemed very dumb on this character's part to do this. And then, like you said, when she gets done, after she encounters the hellhound, as you said, Mark, and the demon that puts its hand on the head of the hellhound, then instead of going home, which most, adults would do, it's like, you know what, I'm going to go to the place where my mom put the initials of me and my sister at now 2:00 in the morning in the dark. And then what does she see again? Another hellhound. And then she follows this hellhound. And I'm like, okay, now we're in a place that, is this like Alice in Wonderland? What's going on? And then who does she encounter but the gentleman that, unalived himself in front of her, like 3 feet in front of her? She finds his mother, which, okay, are you trying to tell me that he has been living here? And I know they said in the film that it's like they kind of lost track of him and stuff like that, but it's like, did they lose track of his family? Did they lose track of his like parents and stuff like that? Or any sort of like, did he never live at this house and stuff like that? Because obviously we know this abode has been there quite some time due to the rampant mold that is everywhere.
Well, that's implied that the mold is the corruption from the evil spirit, because that mold was also at the prison. In his cell.
Yeah.
It's believed that this guy is the channel for the Antichrist, basically.
Yes. Yeah. Kind of like, here's my seed. It's like,
well, again, it's a hybrid of, Hereditary and Midsommar. I mean, when they showed the photograph of this guy, what's his name? He had one of those really weird serial killer names, Wilson Miles, played by Charlie Talbert. When they showed the picture of him and Riley with the antlers, and like there's the in the kind of the ritual dresses, I'm like, no, you're not even trying to be subtle about this. And then they have up in the attic, there's the altar with the infant child. They're trying to feed it blood, and then there's a demon, and they're like whelping it. It's not Payman, but it's something else.
Yeah,
TARDIS or whatever the hell. And I was like, no, this is it's the ending of Hereditary, except not nearly as artfully done, not as scary.
Payman or something like that.
I don't know.
I will say though that his mom, who has been in many things, Robin Bartlett, she was great. Solid performance. I mean, obviously she doesn't care that much about her son because she didn't seem to. But let's get to, what was in the basement, because after this whole time, after Mia has been looking for her sister Riley, for years and years and years, she finds this, trap door. What do? Of course you go down it because it's a movie. And then she finds her sister. Did she not smell her sister before that? I would have thought so. Well, again, it's 12 years, and this is not someone who obviously has gotten her stuff done at the dry cleaner or had her hair cut, or probably even, I would have thought, there's a movie from Australia where a woman is held captive and they take out her teeth because she keeps biting. I think that there's just facts, like when she does finally find her sister, it's been over a decade. This should have been not great looking, like really not great looking. And I think that was a missed opportunity to really show, like, she has been tortured in ways that I don't even want to discuss or fathom, because of, like, we see it in the photos and it's very much implied, but it's like the fact that she's shackled, she like doesn't, she's in shock. It's like her, her sister is talking. It's like, I finally found you. And she's like, obviously this is a dream. You can't be here because I've been here like all this time. And she's been in a basement with, I guess, a couple of excursions outside every, maybe once a year on her birthday or something. I don't know. They don't really go into those details. I'm just, guessing. But
no, I was going to say, it reminded me of another movie from earlier this year, Heretic, where they go into the basement and there's people down there. But horror movies, there are a couple of them stand out, but most of them, they don't get right the very thing that you're mentioning, Katie, which is the smell.
Yeah.
It's always like, it's not until I turned the corner and saw the horrible, pile of rotted bodies that I knew something was amiss. You would have known that when you entered the house. Well, that's the other thing. Like, she just goes into the house and she, you want to come in for some lemonade or whatever it is. And like, no, I can smell that from the porch, lady. There's something wrong there. I'm going to go call the police. Thank you very much.
I was going to say the whole house is going to smell. I mean, that part, again, I found interesting. It came back around. I'm like, oh, okay. When we meet his mom and we get into the meat of the story, I'm like, okay. Even when we get into the ritual part and involving the baby in that, I was actually I'm like, okay, this is what I've been kind of, we've taken this journey. Here we go. We're getting into this meat of the mythology and that. But then it even seems then where the rules are a little loosey goosey on this, on what exactly is established and going on. So, by the end, you're like, scratching your head trying to figure out, okay, I kind of get it. The demon's now linked to her. And I was trying to figure out, I'm like, okay, are you implied that when she first saw the demon through the window of her sister's place, because the idea, folks, is that her sister's been plagued by seeing this demon and no one else has seen this demon. And it's been waiting outside her house, outside her window forever. And one night, her sister, our main character, she ended up seeing the demon in the window.
Mm-hmm.
And it is kind of implied at the end that maybe all along the demon, when she saw her, was attached to her and not actually her sister. Yeah. I think it's, that's implied there. But then you're sitting there going, why exactly? It's like,
because it's clever. I mean, that's the thing, is like when they had that flashback and the whole thing where Mia's like, well, one night I went into Riley's room to make sure she slept through the night, and that's when I saw the thing. And I can't remember the turn of phrase, but it was like, I saw what it was looking at through my sister's window. And I'm like, okay, so this is the part where they're going to reveal later that the demon actually wants sister Mia instead of Riley. Yeah. That's halfway through the film, and I'm just looking at my watch, hoping that there's a twist on the twist, because I've seen horror movies. Mark, I just want to pull over and ask you a second. When you're like, they get up to the part where the demon and the baby and all that stuff, and you said you were kind of into it and the mythology. What were you hoping to see there that you haven't seen in a dozen other movies? This is Rosemary's Baby. This is even Ghostbusters 2 and Hereditary, as we've mentioned. We wanted, there's a prophecy or there's a demon that has to come into our world via a newborn. We've seen it so many times. What were you hoping for?
Well, here's the thing is a lot of times, especially with horror, if you watch with horror, I don't mind reused tropes. When I notice that they're reusing the tropes, it's how you're executing it and how you're presenting it and how you set it up. I don't have a problem if I'm not necessarily seeing something new, if what they do is done well. If what they do is done well, I don't mind. I might be not as, oh, wow. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, you did that well. Here, I was hoping more for either a stand or her making the difficult choice. And this sounds horrible, but this is a horror movie, folks. She realizes the demon is passing into this baby. She's seen it pass into this baby, basically. She knows what the baby is. Personally, I think, and it sounds horrible, and please, folks, don't take this the wrong way. Within the context of the film, I think it would have been a hell of a nail and at least something that goes, whoa, if she would have killed the baby right there.
Oh, you mean like immaculate kind of thing?
Yeah, like an granted, we've seen it, but I mean, at least because her turn, that's where, like I said, it took me a minute to think back at the beginning of the film, going, why didn't she? She literally knows and she can put together what she saw, that the old lady channeled demon that she saw into baby. This is now demon baby. And
it's
have to make a difficult choice.
What did she see though? She saw her like dripping blood onto the baby,
and she saw the demon behind the old lady before.
Right. But she might have thought if she stops the lady and she stops the demon that nothing is getting. She didn't see like magical light drain transferred into the child or anything.
But she didn't stop the lady.
She does.
But she didn't stop the lady. That's the whole thing. She didn't stop the lady was successful. That means something's going on with the baby.
It's successful at what though? Like from her point of view, what did the lady do?
I don't know. Looking at the ritual, I would say she's channeling the demon. I mean, I literally see the demon behind old lady. Old lady does the ritual thing on the baby. All of a sudden, demon's gone, and old lady dies. Okay, I at least, be suspicious of the baby, not,
my thing with that though is that I don't think it's like, yes, she saw that demonic creature behind the woman, but at this point it's like she knows that child is her sister's, like that is part of her sister. She's not thinking about this being some demonic thing. I feel like she's seeing that it's like, that is a piece of my sister. I'm going to save that baby because that is a piece of my family and that's a piece of me. And I'm going to get to a part where I'm going to complain about a little bit about that. Then what happened at the end?
But that I was just answering what Ian asked. What I hope to saw, because that would have been something going, holy crap, she just killed her sister's baby. Whether or not for sure it's a demon, if she thought the demon was in there, because she's just been scared crapless by this demon for just prior to this, she's seen what this lady's trying to do.
There's a compromise there, Mark, I think that we can get to, but the movie has to do some of the work because at this point it's sloppy.
Mm-hmm.
Because from Mia's point of view, she doesn't know what she's seeing. She doesn't know what these rules are. She doesn't know, okay, the demon's gone. Does that mean it's necessarily transferred into this child? The child still looks like a baby, still cooing and, carrying on. But on the other hand, if there was a more obvious sign that something had transferred into this baby, I think playing on the sort of the Satan's Sophie's choice that Katie is suggesting, this is part of my family, it's part of my sister. I can't just kill it, even though I think something is inside of it that's very, very bad for the world. Yeah, give it a missed ending. By the way, I haven't seen Immaculate, so thanks for that, Katie. I know.
Ian, you put the spoilers up, okay? I mean,
But not for me. I just
don't say which movie we're spoiling. I mean,
that's
I
true.
guess,
that's true. But no, I mean, I take both. No, I take both of your points. It's just it goes back to the fundamental, I guess, problem of this movie. I was sort of checked out because by the time we get to this, I'm like, okay, I know where this is going.
Right.
I remember the flashback from the middle of the movie, so I know everything that's going to happen here, except for the surprise reemergence of the crew that is filming Mia.
They brought him back.
Like, oh, that's right.
It's the follow-up. It's the follow-up story, I guess.
Well, and that was the thing. Like when the crew goes away, I mean, I think they probably need to settle themselves too. They probably, I mean, because you know they're filming her when that happens. So even though they don't have blood on their faces, they have blood on their hearts. They, you know, it's like, you know what? We're gonna take a weekend. Maybe go to Cincinnati, since this is in Ohio. Just you let us know when we're ready to return. And then, you know, the documentarian is the one who said, it's like, yeah, I know you told the cops that you don't know why you went, but isn't there really a reason? Like, did you ever think about, you know, the reason that actually drew you there? Because it's like, and that was, I was like, actually, that was a pretty good line. I'm paraphrasing and all that stuff. But my thing, and I was actually like giggling to myself in the theater when this was going on. When, I mean, obviously, Riley is found. It's a big deal. The baby, they go to the hospital, all that stuff. And it doesn't, you know, we don't need our hands held, but it doesn't really say like precisely what the time period is between when she's found and when she then is brought back to, I guess, her family home. You know, but my thing with that is like, yeah, I'm thinking Riley should have stayed in the hospital a little bit longer than the baby. And also she just, you know, her sister just puts the baby and Riley in the same room. It's like, girl, I feel like she needs some rest. Like maybe put them in a different room or could you give her a break? I mean, she's kind of had a lot going on these and also 12 years. I really don't think childcare is first on her mind. I think that was a missed opportunity that it's like they had her, they would have kept her at the hospital. You know, the documentarian said those things like, what really, you know, I know you said you don't know why you went, but do you really not know why? And then she's with the baby. And then Riley leaves the hospital and is in, it's like, no, I have to kill this. Like, you don't understand. Yeah. I think that would have been a better, I don't know. To me, that would have been a better way to do what ended up happening. Because it seemed very obvious to me what was going to happen and what did end up happening. But yeah, I just kept laughing because it's like when I left the movie, that was the first thing I did. It's like, could they not have given that chick a break? I mean, my God.
Well, on top of that, they put them in the same room. You're right. Riley should have been, I would say, institutionalized, or at least in some kind of a halfway house or care with, you know, round the clock psychiatric help because of what she'd been through for 12 years and the conditions, as you pointed out, under which she was found, plus the trauma of escaping the house and all this other stuff. I mean, I don't believe that the
dehydration, just that she should have been like in the hospital longer.
Yeah, or at least on a home drip. But something. Yeah, I don't believe that any kind of authorities or hospital staff would have allowed her to be released in that condition, even on. She didn't even. It wasn't even really her own recognizance because she was very clearly out of it and having to like learn how to talk and function again. But my biggest thing was, really, you left the crib right next to the creepy window.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, see, and that's one of the things that threw me out, and that you get that peppered throughout this film is there's these items where it keeps coming back to like the public. And when you start doing that, it doesn't make sense. Like, I could see if she finds Riley, she has the baby, and she just takes them both to her house right away. We don't get any footage of, oh, Riley's found, oh, hey, she literally, we stay that night. She drives literally from, you know, from Creepy House or whatever takes Riley and baby to her place, settles them down first because she can take care of her family better than, say, the hospital, or she'll take them to the hospital tomorrow, even have her husband show up and go, why don't we take them to the hospital? And she goes, no,
yeah,
we will tomorrow. Have a little scene like that, because it falls in the angle of, hey, there's a conflict still between these two. And two, it would play to the implied overprotection that her sister has over Mia has over Riley, and now a baby here. And you could have really played that angle a little bit to where now you get a little bit of a conflict between Mia and Riley. Don't put that she announced or the whole world finds out that Riley's there. Make it the same night at least, because then you don't have the public in. You don't have these questions we're saying was, why isn't she at the hospital longer?
Yeah.
Why, she takes her home. Hubby says, why don't you take her to the hospital? And she goes, I could take care of them for tonight. We'll take them tomorrow. And then you have all the stuff happening without film crew there or whatnot. Just, you could take that drama and at least go that angle with it.
I think I like where you're going. I don't know that quite works, because even the husband would be like, what do you mean you're going to keep her until the morning? This lady needs urgent care now.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of finding some reason that they have to go back to the house or not go to the authorities or the hospital, in the night.
Right away. Right.
Yeah.
You could even play the angle that she is now kind of influenced by the demon or whatnot, wanting to take care of the baby, and the Riley's just along for the, whatever.
Something. Yeah. I mean, there's ways around. We're not going to figure it out tonight, but the point is someone should have been paying attention to the screenplay. My thing is, I got a really weird Blair Witch 2 Book of Shadows vibe from this movie. And it came roaring back at the end. Because especially to your point, Mark, when this has become like a national news story about how these, the last of these like haunted YouTubers has been found, there would have been people camped out all around that house. News crews, not even news crews, but like, people who are fascinated, ghost hunters, YouTube fanatics, fans of the channel, like wanting to know more. There probably would have been a police cordon, like to keep, to make sure the family had their privacy. So this whole thing, let alone the camera crew that's following Mia, they kind of part ways after Riley and the baby are safely tucked upstairs in bed. Within like 2 minutes of them pulling out to like drive home, Riley comes falling out of this window. I'm like, okay, you're in the boondocks, but unless you're blasting the music in your car radio, I'm pretty sure you're going to hear like an explosion of glass and a body falling to the ground and hellhounds ripping apart someone. That was a bit much. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is we are nitpicking, but I think the problem is what I come back to here, and we'll get to some comments because I think they're kind of pertinent, but for someone who's been on YouTube as a film critic for, as you mentioned, Mark, 16 years, someone who has an affinity for horror, has a very personal stake in this movie, as addressed one of the comments we'll bring up in a second, you'd think that Stuckmann, and maybe this is the Flanagan influence, maybe it's them trying to salvage whatever this movie was before it got picked up, but I'm going to go back to that word again, sloppy. Like, this is not something that, when you get your big shot, like I've been reviewing movies for almost 20 years, that I pick them apart and I can analyze them and all this other stuff. So here's my movie. It's generic, 10 years too late, and full of plot holes. What do you think, everybody?
And again, I don't fault the effort at all with it, but yeah, it was a bit interesting. And then hearing about studio influence with this makes me wonder how much he let them maybe walk over his story a bit from what his maybe actual. That's why I said I would have loved to see maybe hit what he intended with the budget that he initially raised before you get Neon and Flanagan in on it, seeing what maybe he would have came up with. I'm wondering if at least it would have felt a little bit more, I don't want to say, lack of a better term, earnest, but at least, the effort, I think, would have been felt a little bit more with it. But with Mia, you talk about sloppy. Here's the thing. I get wanting to make your character probably a little more rounded and maybe a little flawed, but Mia does something smart and then she does something dumb right after that. like in the house, when she goes into the house with the old lady, and I'll wrap it up quick, but when she goes into the old house with the old lady, she suspects something's up. So suddenly I'm like, oh, cool. She's using her wits. She, we got a little bit of smart final girl going on here. Okay. Because she takes that knife and she puts it in her purse because she's like, you know what? I might need this. And she still has the knife until she finds her sister. Then she puts the knife down.
Yeah.
She talks to her sister, frees her sister. And I understand she's excited for seeing her sister, but she was smart enough to get the knife and put it in her purse. She's going to forget to grab the knife again.
Well, especially the camera goes back and focuses on the knife she left behind. On top of that, we've got Chekhov's cell phone, because before she goes into that basement, she texts her husband and says, find my location to local police. I'm like, okay, this is good. This is going to come into, nope, doesn't, not at all. Not brought up again. Yeah, unfortunate. Okay, so we're going to go. Oh, one thing I want to, because you brought up a couple of times, Mark, I'm curious to see what the original Stuckmann version of this movie is, but I have a feeling it's going to be even less, if we ever see it, less impressive than what we finally got. Because if it's mostly based on what we can see as the found footage version, the unflanaganized part of it, it really does just look like something a YouTuber who's watched too many found footage movies would come up with. I don't get it. Katie, what do you want to say?
I will say this. I know someone said something about the studio influence. If you're referring to Neon with studio influence, I don't feel like they would have put any influence to change anything. The movies, and especially the horror movies that they have come out, it seems like they kind of give people free reign, because there are a number of Neon horror films that it's like, no, this is not like a standard horror film, and like stuff like that. And even I believe Immaculate is a Neon horror film.
It is
Spoiler.
a Neon. Yeah. Well, maybe not so much studio influence, but maybe producer influence.
Well, no, but I mean, a studio influence can be, hey, we want to pick up this movie, but we want to give this over to our good friend Mike. We're not going to mess with what he wants to do with it, but we can't release this thing.
Gotcha.
It's speculation on my part, but this movie looks, because we had Life of Chuck. We know what a Mike Flanagan movie looks like, and the kind of scares that he puts in as entertainment. And it's all over this movie. I can't tell what Chris Stuckmann's authorial voice is in terms of this movie. I'll have to wait and see, if and when his next movie comes out. I don't know. Again, I mentioned Poltergeist. There's been that 40+ year battle over, was that Tobe Hooper, was that Steven Spielberg? And you've got very credible people on, to use that tired phrase, on both sides with their own kind of interpretations of it. So maybe we'll never know. But all right, I want to go to comments, and then we got a few things before we get out of here. So Sajiwa says, Uwe Boll says, not so easy to make a movie, is it? And they says, have not seen it. Horror is not my jam, but the path of getting the movie made and out is interesting. Yeah, I would watch a documentary about how this thing came together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And there may be one. Who knows?
I wouldn't doubt it.
Cynical Taylor 7731 says, I was kind of rooting for Stuckmann to succeed with this movie, especially after the whole thing with the Jehovah's Witnesses holding him back from filmmaking.
Because he was part of the Jehovah's Witness, and there was a whole story with, he went through a whole thing with that.
Yeah, and that was part of the journey, the core with the Mia Riley relationship, is the estrangement of the sisters, representing his own estrangement from his sister and his family once he left Jehovah's Witness and was kind of cut off. And I guess they've reconciled in recent years. So, but the problem is, listening to that story and hearing those details is far more original, interesting, and believable than anything in the movie that is a metaphor for that story, which is kind of a big problem. Cynical Taylor also says, as a Stuckmann hater, seeing people trash Shelby Oakes is satisfying. Again, I'm not going to deny that this isn't a fun conversation, but it doesn't bring me any joy to say, man, because I was, He's one of us. He's a creator, a YouTube creator turned filmmaker. I mean, that's about as big a leap as you can make. I guess I'm just kind of disappointed because I paid my hard-earned money and spent, my hour 40 or whatever it was watching this thing. I'm like, no.
I saw it for free.
It was a Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump on.
No, but it was part of a festival, which is cool.
Yeah.
We all paid for it psychically. So YRN 4895. So is the demon a succubus or an incubus?
Incubus.
Okay.
That's what they mention it at least 2 or 3 times that it's supposed to be an incubus. So,
but that's the thing. Like, this movie did not have a very, like rock driving kind of pseudo metal feel to it at all.
not that incubus.
Sorry.
No, wrong incubus.
If I had to go just based purely on the results of the film, I'd call it a succubus, but you spell it with 2 C's instead of a K. I'm confused. Anyway, and then Sachua brings us home.
He's always getting a donut.
Yeah, it caught the end of the show, got a jelly donuts. Anyway, someone needs to make a found footage comedy. Maybe that's every indie comedy.
American movie is an American movie I found.
There's American movie.
Found footage comedy. That's supposed to be a horror movie. I
think.
No,
Midwest.
It is a funny documentary about the adventures in making a bad independent horror movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
So it's weird. There's something. I feel like I've seen a found footage comedy, and it's a really good one, and I can't remember what it is right now. Damn, that's a challenge. I'll bring it back for next week. Speaking of next week, next Wednesday, 8 p.m. No, sorry, Thursday, next Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, because I got something going on Wednesday night. I have a life. Weird. I know. Thursday night, 8 p.m., we're going to be back talking about Begonia. I hear it's the bee's knees. It's Yorgos Lanthimos' latest film, his third in 3 years, starring Emma Stone. No wonder he wants to take a break. 3 movies in 3 years. That's crazy. But 8 p.m. Central, we'll be talking about that. What else is going on? I have a number of things. Horror 101 with Dr. AC.
Yay!
Let me try that again. Horror 101 with Dr. AC, the founder of the Scare-a-Thon, which is celebrating its 15th year this year. Once again, this year's beneficiary is the International Rescue Committee, doing good and helping families and people who are struggling all over the world. So if you want to donate, we didn't get any super chats tonight, but any revenue that we get from this stream in the future, or in the very narrow window of the future, so share this episode around, we'll be going to donate to benefit IRC, in addition to other super chats and donations we've collected over the Scare-a-Thon month of October, plus a personal donation, which I'm very happy to be part of every year. But recently, on Horror 101 with Dr. AC, link down below, he's been spending the month talking to creators and YouTubers in the horror space. And the latest episode, which went up yesterday, is a profile of yours truly. So if you want to learn my secret origins as a film critic, my Halloween rituals, as sad and weird as they are, and a bunch of other random information about me, you can go check that out. Also, tomorrow night, I'll be joining Mike Crowley on his YPA Reviews YouTube channel to talk about movies that make us grateful. It should be a very lively discussion, and you can partake in that at 8:30 p.m. Central. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Katie Glidewell's recent appearance on Cinema Jaw, because it's perfect for the Halloween spooky season. She talked about, she and the Cinema Jaw co-hosts all read out their top 5, or in Katie's case, top 7.
Because I always tie. I never keep it to the number I'm supposed to.
And I'm glad, because you had some really, not only just like, it's not that just films were tied, but they're thematically tied together for those slots, which I thought was great. So, yes, well, you're welcome. And thank you for sharing your opinions. Didn't agree with everything on the panel, of course, but there were some of those choices where,
What?
I mean,
like your number one, I was like, oh my gosh, there's another devotee of that film. It's brilliant. I won't spoil what it is, but check that out on Cinema Jaw. There's also a link to that down below. We also, Earth's Mightiest Critics, a number of them got random shout outs throughout the episode, which was kind of fun to hear as well. But I didn't actually say what those top 5 lists were. They were the top 5 horror movies of the last 25 years of the millennium. So yeah, very interesting and some great callbacks there.
Can I say something really quick?
No, sorry. Yes.
I would like to thank for doing Shelby Oaks review. I would like to thank Telluride Horror Show and Nightmares Film Festival that showed the films, and that is why I was able to watch the film and review it tonight. So thank you guys. Amazing genre film festivals. You both should go because honestly, they're 2 of the best in the world.
Excellent. Well, if you can share me the information, like I'm sure they have websites, I will post those down below. I mean, they've just passed, but for 2026, why not?
Yeah.
People interested. Cool. Mark, do you have anything that you want to plug?
Nah.
Well, I'll plug it for you, Mark.
I got nothing going on. No, if you're interested at all in my stuff, Ian, we do the spoiler room. We've got a month coming up, a new month, so a new theme. So it's Rock and World Month. We're looking at rock and roll musicals, specifically ones that involve mostly one specific band, their music. So like next week, we're watching Pink Floyd's The Wall. Then we've got Across the Universe. We've got Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. We're going to muscle through that one. The Bee Gees, Ode to the Beatles. So yeah, look at Katie. And we've got Tommy as well. And so we got that. I've got a couple interviews. I finally got to talk to a couple folks whose work I admired quite a bit. And so their interviews are going up about their new film. Yesterday is Almost Here. It's a very interesting, dramatic romance thriller, which isn't usually in my wheelhouse, but it's a very interesting film. And yeah, we're doing other stuff too. I'm doing stuff on there. If you want to head over to that channel, I got stuff over there. So I'm horrible at plugging me, but please check out Blonde in Front's stuff. She is fantastic. Everybody, Earth's Mightiest Critics, and of course Ian, who is kind enough to join me on my show to talk things. So
it's been 5 years, Mark. 5 glorious years.
It has been 5 years. Yes, it has.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I say one more thing?
Yes.
Because I am not seen Begonia, and I will not be able to participate next Thursday. But then the Wednesday after that, I will not be able to participate because a short that I was in called Scriptease will be at the Windy City Film Festival.
Oh, nice.
Windy City Film Fest at the Davis Theater at 7 p.m. I ask all of you watchers and anyone, who has friends and everybody, come to the Davis Theater and support Scriptease. You can see my name giant on the big screen. So
nice.
Well, Katie, I can't host a live stream the same night that you're at a movie event, so I might have to do 2 Thursdays back to back. So thanks for letting me know.
Yes,
for reminding me, and I'm going to put that in the calendar. So definitely, I don't want to ick your yum or whatever they say. So yes, I don't want to yuck your yum. That's what it is.
Okay.
So, yeah. All right. Oh, also, and then Sergio jumps in. Casey makes a mixtape interview on Sunday. That's not going to be live, but I'm going to be talking to Sergio about a new independent film called Casey Makes a Mixtape. Have not watched it yet. Going to be watching it this weekend. I'm very hopeful that'll be our next episode of Indie Scene. So that'll be out next week. So look for that. And I've kept folks way over. Mark, you poor bastard. You've been up since 2:30 this morning, and yet you made it through admirably through this episode. So I thank you very much. Also, Katie, I thank you. I thank all of the folks who jumped in to participate in the chat tonight. We couldn't do this without you. And please be ensured and support all of Earth's Mightiest Critics. Their information is down below. And until next time, whenever that is, whatever that is, thank you very much. Take care. And now leaving Shelby Oaks for good. Sorry.